right, everybody. I have a wonderful guest on today who I've been stalking on Instagram for years and beyond Instagram, pre-Instagram even. In fact, we have some mutual acquaintances and friends. Maybe that'll come up, or maybe that's just a tease for future conversations. But please welcome my guest today, Selene Luna.
Thank you so much, Heidi. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah.
And I want to know who our mutual friends are.
Jason Messier.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's one of my closest pals and love him so much.
Jason is such a sweetheart. And he and I went to high school together.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So yeah, Jason and I were, weirdo buddies. We were the strange outcast outsider. He was creative and interesting back then, of course, as well as he is today.
Yeah, he's an incredible artist. That's wonderful. I mean, it's like family.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was going to ask you a couple things. So we're on this podcast is I took a little break for a couple months. So we're just coming out of on the other side. We're in 2021 now. We're still in the lockdown, but things are starting to feel a little bit more open. But I'm just curious, out of this whole year, this past year, for you, you're a very creative person. What kind of things creatively have you done that have been maybe different than what you would have done, or just like, oh, I've always wanted to do this, now I have the time? Or how did this year in the lockdown stoke your creativity?
Well, it's actually been a real silver lining for me creatively. I now have an opportunity that I didn't have before. And to give you background on what I'm talking about, back in 2018, I began producing stand-up comedy shows that only featured comics with disabilities. And the reason I started this path in my life is that a lot of people don't realize, and by the way, if you don't know who I am, you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm a little person. So I've lived as a disabled person my entire life. Just as the kids say, I was born this way. So to get at what I'm talking about is that I had a touring career for about 15 years. I toured both as a dancer and a stand-up comic. And one thing I realized in touring is that the majority of venues, of performing art venues, are not ADA compliant as far as accommodating performers with disabilities. Although a lot of venues are ADA compliant for audience members, I mean, and even then it's shoddy. Mm-hmm. But it's really not compliant. So if you're a performer with a disability, good luck surviving on tour, and good luck managing backstage. I mean, could you just imagine backstage? I think most people know what backstage looks like. It's really the ugly part of the show. It's all the cords, yeah, all the wires, all the equipment, gigantic light rigs, gigantic sound rigs. Now imagine being in a wheelchair trying to navigate through that just to get on stage. So that's just to give you a visual. And so in 2018, that's when I got the idea of like, you know what, why don't I just produce shows that are specifically accommodating to performers with disabilities? So there is no shortage of talent with disabilities. There's a shortage of opportunities for us, but not the talent. And the problem I was coming up against was getting audiences to come out and support it without audiences feeling like, oh man, this is going to be weird and depressing. Because the biggest part about the biggest hindrance for disabled people is not our physical disability, it's society's attitudes about it. So it's really not our problem. It's usually non-disabled people's problem, but we carry the burden. So flash forward to the pandemic, I saw this as a perfect opportunity because it became normal to have virtual shows online. All of a sudden, everybody started producing shows online. And so that's what I started doing. I thought this is the perfect opportunity to produce shows for featuring people with disabilities and without anybody having to deal with the physical logistics of literally physically getting on stage, getting to the venue, getting down the aisles, getting up steps. None of that. All of a sudden, that was eliminated. So it has really sparked my passionate drive to spotlight performers with disabilities. And so since the pandemic, I have now produced a handful of shows spotlighting people with disabilities. They have been great. They've been successful. People are becoming receptive, and people are realizing that people with disabilities are hilarious because we face more adversity than anyone else. And adversity by nature creates humor. It's a survival mechanism. So, long answer to your question. That's what I've been doing, and I'm so happy about it. And it would not have happened without the pandemic. So there's my silver lining. And I'm pursuing this beyond the pandemic. Once the world, I guess, quote unquote, opens up, whatever that means,
Right.
whatever that looks like, I'm still going to continue producing shows online because it's a new platform for those of us with disabilities.
That's fantastic. I love how much you were able to recognize that opportunity and take it up. And it seems like, yeah, one thing I've heard for different comedians and different people who have moved over to online for right now or forevermore, is that then you also get other barriers are broken down. So anybody can come to the show, as long as they have a working computer or sometimes just a working, smartphone. So just all over the world, people can participate, and it's usually at like a price point that's available. And then, anybody that does have physical, constraints or concerns, that's wiped out. So there's just all these different ways we can connect. And it is truly a silver lining, and that is so cool. I look forward to seeing more. I haven't really jumped in and watched a bunch of things. I participated in Fantastic Fest, that genre film festival, which is usually in Austin, and I had some technical difficulties with the platform that they were using, and so I was like kind of watching some things and then they're dropping out and whatever. It was still fun, but what format have you been using? Is it Zoom? Are there other, just kind of the technical specs, just for curiosity's sake? For that?
Yeah, I mean, the technical part has been, it's like the Wild West. We are at the forefront of something new, and we, not just, disabled performers, but just anyone who's producing online now, we're at the forefront of this. We're creating something that's never existed before. So I've been using Zoom. I'm not plugging Zoom, but it's been so awesome that it exists and it's accessible to anyone, anywhere in the world. And so we have had, I've had some technical glitches here and there, but not anything so, major that the show couldn't go on. Just a couple glitches here and there. Really nothing that hindered any show I've participated in. And also, I think audiences realize we're really in this together. Everybody understands what's happening. So it's not been a big deal for me at all.
Cool. Yeah, I was just thinking that's the other thing that's been such a it's weird to say blessing, but like one of the special opportunities or ways that we've been able to connect like this is that, I'm sure this will be old by now by the time everybody hears this, but the attorney showing up where he's got the kitty cat face as
that was so amazing.
Or the technical difficulties and things that just add to the humor and the humanizing of the experience of we're all truly in this together. And I'm sitting here now. I've been podcasting from home ever since the beginning. So I'm used to this kind of format, but even today, like doing this and recording it over video is new. So I chuckle to myself that before the pandemic, before we knew any of this, that I had on my to-do list, learn how to use Zoom, because I knew it was like a thing people were using, and there's nothing like this kind of thing to just go, oh, I'm gonna use this thing or be, disconnected from people. So it's great that we have all these different variety of tools to keep us connected. And I'm assuming, that it adds to the humor, it adds to the feeling of connection that we're all stumbling through technology and learning this together. And it's very like this producing from home too. It's like a very DIY bootstrap kind of thing. And I think for Vibrant Visionaries, this podcast and YouTube channel that's debuting soon, it's an opportunity for Vibrant Visionaries. How I describe us are people who have a multitude of talents and really, go many different directions. They aren't just like, I'm a chef and that's it. We do a lot of different things. And so, I guess the next question I have is that something that you feel like you've, as you've developed your career that is multifaceted, have you kind of come from that DIY? Like if it's going to get done, it's going to be me producing it myself.
Absolutely. 100%. I've always been a do-it-yourself entertainer. I've had to be. Everybody is. But I have an extra layer. Again, I'm a disabled individual, so I've always been at the mercy of non-disabled allies opening doors for me, and always trying to figure out how I can make something work, how I can make people see me as a performer like anyone else. How can I make people look beyond my physical? And that's just something that disabled individuals are born with. We are very creative, resourceful people. You have to, we live in a world that it just generally is not accommodating or accessible. So by nature, we are always thinking ahead. How am I going to modify this to work for me? I mean, from pouring cereal in the morning to shopping for clothing, we're not exactly off the rack. And, people like me. And I think a lot of people relate to that. And, but we just have an amplified necessity to be more resourceful. So, tweaking my producing style for the internet, for the virtual world, I was ready for it. Although as a performer, I have to be honest, I was resistant. I wasn't totally ready for it because as a comic, really as a live stage performer, which is, I would say 80% of what I used to do before the pandemic, you just cannot replace the energy of a live audience. Doesn't matter where you are. And that was something I had a really hard time wrapping my head around. Also, it's generational. I'm not a spring chicken. I'm like old school showbiz. And I'm not a gamer. The last time I played a video game was like, Atari in the 80s. It was like, so I didn't have an organic connection to creating online. And so I had to really wrap my head around it. And someone asked me to do a show early on in the pandemic. A friend of mine who's a comic that I really love and respect, he asked me to do his show. And I just thought, you know what, here goes nothing. I'm just going to just give it a try, see how it feels, even though I agreed kicking and screaming. And I'm so glad I did it. It tore off the bandage. I realized, oh my God, this is pretty amazing. I mean, I don't have to look for parking. I don't have to pay for parking. I don't have to leave my house. I'm a homebody, honestly. I'm not, I'm not really big on going out. I'm in my pajamas by 5 o'clock. I mean, so I started to see wow, this is pretty amazing. So I'm full blown into it now. I love it. I love it. I want this virtual world to work out. because I'm having fun doing this.
Awesome. That's so cool. I've noticed you've done a lot of different things at home, kind of like sharing on Instagram some of your crafting, even making like films with your husband and your dog and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, those are fun.
I like I'm a homebody too, and even though I've toured in bands and led bands and things, I think about those times and how much I remember my stepmom would be like, "Oh, well, I never call you until afternoon because I'm assuming you've just been up all night partying." And
Right, that's what everybody thinks.
like, no. As soon as I'm done, as soon as I'm wound down, I'm like, I cannot wait to get this bra off and these shoes off and just pass out or curl up with a good movie or something like that.
Absolutely.
What do you one of the other topics we talk about a lot on this podcast for ourselves as people who do a lot of different creative things is like, how do you recognize when you're getting burnt out, and how do you take care of yourself? What kind of like self-care things do you like to do, whether they're like, we all know, like, oh, well, just, I think when I say self-care, I still feel like there's this, like, it just means like putting on an herbal mask and taking a bubble bath or whatever, which is fine, that's great. But I also think of self-care as, or recognizing burnout and going to self-care also means like recognizing, oh, I need to say no to a couple of things or set some boundaries or whatever. I don't know, anything in that topic area that is interesting for you to talk about, feel free to share.
Sure. I absolutely relate to the question. As far as burnout goes, I think for me, the cue to realize that I need to stop and walk away is when I begin to dread what I'm working on. Usually a deadline gets me fired up and excited. Kind of an anxious anxiety, like my chest is caving in. I deal with a lot of anxiety. I think that's probably a lot of people these days, and definitely creative individuals come from a place of anxiety. So when I start having anxiety, and then I work it out in writing like a new comedy set. That's kind of where I work it out. I have to make it a creative venture that's also an investment in my career. And so if I'm at a point where I'm writing something and it starts to feel dreadful, I got to just stop and walk away. That's when I know, like, okay, I'm forcing it. Nothing good's going to come out of this. But I still need to engage my mind, but without feeling any kind of pressure. So I turn to crafting. I'm a real crafter. My husband is too. And that's one of the things we have in common. We really love stimulating our minds, but in a way where you can also space out and enjoy yourself at the same time. It's not mindless, but it does engage your mind. So I like working on miniatures. That's my thing right now. I have a lot of things that I like to create with my hands, but we have like in our home, we have a whole like craft section. We have a storage room. It's our laundry room / my office / our doomsday stock. But part of our doomsday stock is we have a whole section of art supplies and crafts and stuff. And so right now the craft that I'm into is I'm hoping I'm working on it, but I'm gonna build myself a Christmas village. I love Christmas. I'm a Christmas freak. And so this year, 2021, my goal is to create an ADA compliant Christmas village.
I love it. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
What kind of materials are you using to working with?
Oh, well, that's kind of the fun part of it. My husband and I, we live out in Palm Springs, and we're really surrounded by nature. I mean, it's a small town. You really are in the middle of the desert. And so, I mean, we live butted up against a hiking trail. There's so much beauty that surrounds us. So what I do is I just walk out into the backyard or up into the hill behind my house and just pick up materials, like pick up rocks, pick up twigs, leaves, and that's what I use to make like my miniature village cabins. And right now, my latest, I'm working on I'm almost done with it. A little witch's apothecary cabin, and so it's really cute. It looks like a miniature log cabin, and it's all made out of twigs I found in the yard.
That's awesome. I love
Thanks.
it.
I'm geeking out.
Yeah, my husband and I both love crafting too. And I think our whole, like right now in the office behind me, there's like a ton of stuff for crafting. And then I do have like a designated spot in a back room that for when we first moved into this house, it was like, oh, we'll have guests here. And then slowly it just all of our crafts and
That's funny. That's what we thought too. It was like, oh, this is perfect guest area. Now, I guess, yeah, we couldn't squeeze anybody in.
Yeah, there. No way. And then, yeah, our living room, everything's a this/that. Our living room, he's working from home like most people are. In one little corner of the living room, and then he turns around. He actually just started documenting some of our vintage cookbooks that we collect. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. He set up, he painted and made a little stand for it to kind of give it a nice neutral backdrop with a green, sorry, let's see, move this here. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then he's now like in between working, he'll snap some photos and then throw those up on Instagram. So it's fun to just kind of, every room's a multi-purpose room, I guess.
Well, these days there's just no way around it. And actually, I do have to mention another thing that I do for to decompress. That we play checkers. I'm like obsessed with playing checkers, and that's another thing that's like it really engages your mind. We play very strategically, very competitively. And in fact, my husband handmade me this beautiful checker set out of his wood shop. And so everything is a craft that we actually end up using that benefits our lives. And so yeah, I'm heavy into checkers.
That's awesome. I'm trying to think of the last time I played checkers. I must have been a kid, but I remember liking it. Yeah. I don't even know if I remember. I don't think I remember how to play.
Well, I've had to relearn, and now I can't stop. Yeah, I hadn't played checkers since I was like 8. You know, I don't. And then, but we were just like, oh my God, what do we do next? You know, because you can only paint and glue so much.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it was like, oh my God, let's give checkers a try. We went to the Dollar Tree, and which I love the Dollar Tree. It's not a plug. They don't sponsor me, although I wish they would. But we go there for our craft supplies. They have like an amazing craft section. And there we stumbled upon some like little dollar travel size checkered, game. And we bought it just for fun. And it just stuck. And now I can't stop.
Yeah, I remember I love thrifting and going to places like that. And I remember when Big Lots used to be called Pick and Save, and that was something
I remember Pick and Save.
Grandma would do. As my grandma would load us up in the car, and we'd go just wander around Pick and Save. And
oh my God, Pick and Save was the jam. That was like pre 99-cent store.
Yeah, totally.
But then 99-cent store came in, and it's like that Pick and Save went out.
Yeah.
Pick and Save.
Pick and Save.
Amazing reference.
What else was I going to say? I can't remember now. Take a moment to gather my thoughts here. Yeah, I'm not sponsored by ... grocery outlet, but
wait, I'm sorry. That's a trigger for me. I'm obsessed with grocery outlet.
Are you?
Yes. Love that place.
I love shopping there. And then, so what I want to do, so my new YouTube channel is called Vibrant Visionaries Network. And I made the logo kind of sort of evocative of like 60s, 70s, sort of, I don't know, like Monday night at the movies or like sports night on whatever, just kind of, you'll have to see it. But anyways, it's similar to the Vibrant Visionaries podcast logo, but a little bit, I definitely like really love that 60s aesthetic. And so one thing I'm going to be doing on there is cooking. And just sharing fun, easy recipes and just all my influences from working at coffee houses and developing menus and then just living life now, kind of like a little bit retro, but a little bit modern, a little bit, sitting in front of the TV and eating, which I think a lot of people do these days. And
not me. I don't know what you're talking about. Are you kidding? I'm like full time eating in front of the TV.
Yeah. My stepmom is an artist and she throws these really cool, I don't even know what you call them, but they're like, it's not a bowl, it's not a plate, it's like rectangle, kind of like a bowl. And when I stayed
like a trough,
kind of like a trough, like a little personal trough. And when I ate at her house, I was like, this could be like the thing that everybody eats from in the future because it's really easy.
I'm doing it already.
Yeah, you could kind of like, and you could do she's very artistic and it's very beautiful looking, but it's also like you could put a bowl of chili with a little cornbread on it. You could throw a salad in there or soup. It's like anything would go in this trough.
I yelled out trough. It's a running joke in my house because that's the point we're at now. Just troughing in front of the TV.
So yeah, grocery outlet. I want to do some recipe, and if they want to sponsor YouTube or anything, I'm totally down for it. I shop there all the time. The one I go to is in San Leandro. It's about 15 minutes from here. I'm in Oakland, and I want to do recipes where it's like, I got everything I got here was from grocery outlet and I take it home and go, what am I going to do with this? But they also play oldies all the time. So I'm like dancing and singing down the aisles and like,
it's cute. They're real mom and pop. It's super cute.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. They're all independently owned.
They're all like all family owned.
Yeah.
They're great. We walk into ours and like every time we walk in, they greet you. It's like, hi, great to see you again. It's really small town. It's so cute.
It is super cute.
Makes me want to spend my money there.
Yeah, for sure. Are there particular things you're always looking for? Or is it like, it's part of the hunt is part of the fun too?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, my favorite thing about grocery outlet, by the way, grocery outlet, you can sponsor me too.
Yeah. Let's do it.
And I'm paying your light bill.
For sure.
I love the at least the way it's set up at our place. You walk in and it's the first thing you hit is the healthy snacks. They have like amazing section of like munchies, but it's not junk food. It's like off-brand, but they're like really good quality, off-brand, weird, like healthy stuff, and which I'm really into. I like my nerdy snacks. So, it's where I get my chia seeds or chia. What are they? Chia seeds. Is it chai?
I think it's chia seeds.
I get my chia seeds.
Yeah, right. They're what you can get when you get a chia pet, right?
Exactly. I get my spirulina. I love spirulina in my smoothie. All the like health food stuff, but like secretly peppered with like cheese, chocolate.
Right.
It's just the perfect. I love it. I'm like, I could just talk about it all day. They also have great prices on tortillas. Tortillas are my lifeblood. I don't really eat bread, but oh my God, I eat a lot of tortillas. And so those are the kind of things I love. While we're on topic, do you ever shop at Aldi?
There's I don't think there's any Aldis in my neighborhood. I do listen to Groceries, that podcast. Have you ever listened to that?
No, I've heard of it, but I've not tuned in.
It's Aaron and Brian, who do Attitudes, which used to be called Throwing Shade, and this is their other podcast, because they would start talking on Attitudes, which used to be called Throwing Shade, about, they'd start chatting about, you know, going to the farmer's market or go, you know, and I think they just noticed people were like, we love when you're talking about grocery shopping. So they did a whole other show called
I need to subscribe, because as you can see, it's all I want to talk about.
Yeah. So yeah, tell me about Aldi's.
Well, Aldi, it seems to be spreading. They're kind of like the new, kind of like a Trader Joe's phenomenon in America. They're really starting to catch on, and they're really popular where I live. And it's a German grocery store. And as you would imagine, very German. It's super like no frills, utilitarian. It's this kind of giant warehouse setting, but meticulously organized, but literally like no frills. It's not pretty. There, you know, it's not glossy, but oh my God, the produce. See, Aldi, please marry me. The produce is insane. I mean, like good and fresh. The bargains are insane, and it's a lot of what is off-brand to us, but a lot of like European brands that are actually really good, if not better, in many ways, quality-wise. But the whole like munchies section, like you know, platters and trays and prepared like dips and stuff like that, and cheeses. Oh, it's like you're in a European market. It's delicious, amazing. Like you know that tube of goat cheese you get at, you know, Trader Joe's. That goat cheese with the blueberries mixed in.
Right.
Delicious. Okay, that's like $5 or $6 at Trader Joe's. I'm not like pitting anyone up against each other, but at Aldi, that's $2.
Oh wow.
I mean, everything is half the price and almost better quality. For certain things, you know, it's a hit or miss.
Sure.
And you just got to dig through it. It's amazing. Oh my God. And a carton of eggs, 12 dozen eggs, 67 cents.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
But
I'll definitely have to look around and see.
There's nothing wrong with them. They're like, they're not expired or anything. And anyway, okay. Oh, like I'm gonna start crying. I love Aldi, you guys. I need to be on that grocery show. I need to call in.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. It's really great.
But Aldi is super old school. Like you have to put in like at the airport, you know, when you get those luggage carts, you got to put in a quarter. Well, maybe now it's like $2, but I don't know. Anyway, like at Aldi, the shopping cart, to access the shopping cart, you got to feed it a quarter. So make sure you have a quarter, or else you can't get a shopping cart. And that's how they get their shopping carts back. So you return your shopping cart and you get your quarter back.
Oh, clever.
It's super old school.
Yeah, very old school.
Utilitarian, German. They're not fucking around.
That's awesome.
And you got to bag your own groceries.
Oh, I love
you know, my only criticism about Aldi, it is the most disabled, unfriendly store I've ever been to in my life. The carts are huge. You got to bag your own groceries. There's no staff around to help you, but that's how you get the bargains.
Gotcha.
So I'm very fortunate that, you know, I have my husband to help me, but that's all I got to say. Aldi has to up their ADA game. But other than that, the bargains are worth the struggle.
Sweet. I will check that out. I'm assuming there might be some around. I just haven't looked. I just know I have my usual route is grocery outlet first. And that's in San Leandro, like I mentioned. There's one in Oakland, but this one just has oodles more charm and is less crowded. And then
I'll drive extra far for charm.
Absolutely. And loyalty, you know, you get like you get to know the employees and stuff like that. Even at a Walgreens that I go to, like there's one that there's a couple that I drive past to get to the one where the lady has a great smile and always points out what's on sale, like of the things I buy. And she's like, awesome. there's this spice market in San Leandro as well, this Indian spice market. So we go there and get like, I love garlic powder. So we'll get like
Yum.
pounds of garlic powder and get,
Yeah.
fresh ginger. And that's another place where there's like fun, interesting, like face masks, like for the face, like not masks to cover the mouth and nose, but
Self-care mask.
self-care masks. Yeah. And stuff
Mhm.
like that I'll get there, or just like, ghee and coconut milk and stuff like that can be
Yeah, I
good
love all
prices
that.
there and stuff. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
I'll go
amazing.
do that. And I haven't been to a Trader Joe's since the pandemic, because I usually just don't feel like I have the time to stand in the line. And I'm glad that our
Yeah.
Trader Joe's is being conscientious of that. But
Yeah.
when I drive by, I'm like, I just go to and then we have a local place in Alameda, California that I go to that's kind of like the local neighborhood grocer, and I like to go there as well too. But it's a little more expensive, but they have like the good, if you can splurge on the really good meats, and they always have good veggies. Yeah, so
That's good. And one last thing I'll say about Aldi, as I hope that I get sponsored by them. I read an article came out last year that they are the first supermarket in the United States to be 100% organic. So all their stuff is organic, and it's cheaper than Trader Joe's.
Wow.
Yeah, that's all I'll say. I believe it might be limited to produce, but that's what I gotta say, and that's why I put up with their ableism.
Yes. Well, hopefully that will change soon. One more thing. Let's see. Oh, well, before we get wrapped up today, I think the other thing I wanted to talk about was just highlight things that you've got coming up here this spring, anything you want to point people to, or any.
I'm doing two things right now. On Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, you can catch me and one of my best friends and cohorts, Nadia Ginsburg, who's a hysterical comedian. So she and I do a happy hour chit chat on Instagram Live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, and we have a lot of fun. And every Saturday morning I'm gonna switch the time up. Every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. You can find me as my alter ego, which is Dr. Newman. That is my male illusionist personality. Dr. Newman leads us in a low impact workout every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on my Instagram Live. And I just want to say that, Dr. Newman is a character, a really fun character I started doing just for fun several years ago. But now I'm using as this. Dr. Newman is my digital pivot. And I'm using this character to motivate me to work out. I have to work out. I've gotten really lazy here during COVID. So I figured if I do this character live on Instagram while I work out, it'll force me to, number one, show up for my own workout and hopefully create a community of other people who want to work out so we can support each other. And then I have no excuses. So
I love it.
That's what I'm hoping people will tune in to Saturdays at 10 a.m. Dr. Newman's low impact workout live from my doomsday bunker.
I love it. That's awesome. And I'm always down for low impact. Like, that is my jam.
Yes. That's about all I can handle these days. I mean, actually, swimming is my favorite form of workout. But even though I'm in Palm Springs, it's too cold for me still. So then I got to do something. So,
and anybody that wants to sponsor me by opening up your pools to me when it's safe to do so, I would love to come swim in your pool.
Come use my pool.
That would be fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And before we go, what you mentioned your Instagram a few times, and I've mentioned it. It's really fun to follow along on your adventures. What is your Instagram handle?
Thank you so much. My Instagram is Selene _Luna, SELENE _Luna, LUNA. I got to put in the underscore because when I signed up for Instagram, a very sweet Mormon girl already had my name. So
It
um,
happens.
and I've seen that people have tagged her on photos of me that are kind of mortifying. So I hope this kid is not scared. Anyway, that's it. But you can also always visit my website, which leads you to whatever shenanigans I'm up to. And my website is seleneluna.com. I don't know if I'm a grandma by plugging a website, but I hope you'll visit it.
Yeah, not at all. I'm glad you mentioned that. And I was going to ask you another thing if you have a couple minutes.
Sure.
So you did voice work. You played a character, a part, for Coco.
Yes.
That was such a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
I've been to Oaxaca a couple of times for Day of the Dead, and Mexico is a place I have visited a lot since I was a kid growing up in Southern California. And I'm actually here in Oakland, so I'm really close to Pixar too. So
yeah.
What was it like? Anything you want to share? Just like, what was it like being a part of that project?
Oh gosh, it was incredible. I mean, for someone like me, like a disabled Mexican immigrant, never in my wildest dreams did I imagine I would have an opportunity to voice a character in, like, frankly, in my opinion, the greatest cartoon franchise ever. So it made me very proud. Mostly, I mean, more than anything, it made me proud because, Coco is the first major Hollywood studio film to cast an all Latino cast. That had never been done before. So I felt very lucky to be part of that. It's very historical. So other than that, I mean, it was a wonderful experience. The team at Pixar could not be a more incredible group of people. So thoughtful, so kind. They worked for many, many years in developing this film. They wanted to get it right, and I think they exceeded expectations.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. It's so touching. It's so funny. It's so warm. It's so colorful. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, the film was made with a lot of love coming from Pixar and Disney, and I think it's obvious to the viewer.
For sure.
It's beautiful.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for sharing that, and thanks so much for just hanging out with me. This is a great start to season 3 of Vibrant Visionaries, and thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you. I'm so glad. It was so wonderful to meet you, and I'm so excited to be on your show. Thank you.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.